Hello, welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. I have an addiction to starting games. I have an addiction to starting things. I have a custom Minecraft mod pack that I have built through the wonderful tools at twitch.tv. And I will occasionally start another Minecraft game. I have a set of progressions that I enjoy getting through. But then I get to a point where I have decisions to make about where to go and what to do, and it becomes a little more grindy than I like. And, it's not as much fun from that point as it was when I started, so I'll go and start another one. They all seem very similar, but they're all built in different environments. They all look entirely different. The technical progression looks about the same, but I'm constantly refining. At some point in time, I'll probably do some Minecraft videos, just because I've put time into this and I would like to put some of it out there. I started Fallout 4 games for a while, starting with an early game progression with different builds and different strategies, starting off in different areas using mods, starting out with different mods, and going for different gameplay experiences. I've finished Fallout 4 a couple of times, but rarely. I may have started 50 games. I've finished it twice, because I'd get to a point where the progression wasn't fun anymore, wasn't giving me the rush of discovery and desperation that I had at the beginning. I hit the competency curve and it stopped being engaging, so I'd start over. I've put a number of hours into Fallout 76. Moving on. I enjoy early game mechanics more than I enjoy mid to late game mechanics. Unfortunately, this carries through with a lot of my creative work. I like starting projects. I have 50 ideas a day. There are things that jump into my head that I really want to do, and they involve these paths of learning new skills and developing old skills and putting things together in ways I haven't put them together before. And I have external hard drives full of started projects that I will probably never go back and finish, because at some point in time the creative work turns into a little bit of a grind. I used to be able to power through this. I wrote the original Hot Chicks the role-playing game in 2007 and 8, kind of, and the Victory System in 2012, and incidents have happened in my life since then. I don't have as much brain tissue as I did when I did those projects. That might be part of the problem, but it gets to the point where I've got the concept down and now everything needs to be fleshed out, and there are decisions to be made about how I do the art. And do I do the art now and then do the data, or do I do the data and the art? Do I do the write-up for the data and the art first so that I can follow it with the data and the art, or do I do the write-up last after I've seen the visual reference that I've created and generated data for it? There are charts, there's pictures, there's write-ups, and who's got time for that? I have the notes down. I know where the stuff is going. The stuff is cooking in the back of my head. Or maybe it's not, because it doesn't feel like jumping out the way it used to. Starting projects is fun. Doing projects, less so. It's kind of why I need a staff. If I could finish up a few projects and make some income so I could hire a staff, I could finish up some projects so I could make some income and hire a staff. It's the grind loop that makes a game boring for me, that makes a project stop being something I want to do. This is not to say that I'm not going to do some of those projects. I've got stuff on my plate right now that is half done. I could just power through and finish. seasonal affective disorder, and it's the winter, and my head doesn't always work, and sometimes there just isn't enough coffee. I'm on a lot of caffeine right now. You might be able to tell. The creative process comes in a number of stages. There's concept. Oh, even before that, there's brainstorming, then there's concept, then there's planning and design, and then it's depends on the project. Then it's the actual creative work, for which I have every tool I could ever want to have right in front of me right now. I spend 8 hours a day at this place. At a minimum, this chair is the only thing that makes my back not hurt these days. Unfortunately, I also have every distraction in the world in front of me too. And amongst those 50 ideas a day I come up with, there is a substantial number of them which are, we could start another Minecraft character. We should play 76 for a while. Andrew's only 30 levels ahead of us right now. Sorting those out and prioritizing them is occasionally an easy, clearly defined task. There's work that has to get done. There's a deadline for it. I have a couple of assignments every week that I need to get out if I'm going to have any kind of income at all. This is one of them. I missed a week recently. It didn't feel good. And I can prioritize for those usually. That was one of the last things that left my plate as I went through my chemotherapy, and one of the first things I picked up when I was able to. I was down and out for, I think, 2.5 months. And I came back to it way sooner than I probably should have, because fentanyl is a hell of a drug. And that was some interesting work during that time. Past that, though, I've also spent a lot of time making these tasks as efficient as I possibly could. I have between 10 and 21 pieces of dedicated art to do every week. And this involves, my computer doing a heavy render run, at least, once for each and every one of those pictures, if not several times, if I need to make composite images. And sitting down and not only building scenes in 3 dimensions, but also taking the stuff into Photoshop and making sure that it's all proper. And I have gotten stupid fast with that. It's a good deal of mental effort, but it only takes 2 or 3 hours out of my week, if that. That leaves me sitting back with all the rest of the hours in the week wondering what the hell I'm doing with my life, at least during this time of year. It's a matter of prioritization, really. And this is me thinking out loud a bit, because this is an issue that I need to deal with. So thank you for sitting along with me while I deal with it a bit. The new projects need to go on a list. All of my new projects need to go on a list. Some of them are physical projects or things I need to build, or little crafting things I need to do to enhance other areas of my life, or other projects I want to do. I want to build a clothespin and dowel initiative tracker for my D&D and Victory games, because that would come in super useful. And I want to do some 3D printing. I have a prop for Uncle Drac I really want to make, but I've got to design it first, and there's some electronics involved and a little mechanical action. I need to talk to some people who do that kind of thing. All of that needs to go on a list, because all of that is later stuff. It is not as important. There is an art project that is going to be fairly substantial when it comes out. I am halfway done and just can't get myself. It's been 2 weeks since I've touched the thing. That's kind of unforgivable. I need to get back to that, and I need to finish it, because that will be kind of nice, and it's not that much effort. It's just a little tedious, and frankly, there's nothing wrong with some tedious work now and then. It's harder to do during the winter. There's a book I am just shy of novel length on, and it's 2/3 done. So it's going to be a bit long for a novel, but it shouldn't be too terribly long. I think I've got good direction with it. I know where the story's going. The next set of words hasn't jumped up in my head, but that's because I haven't sat down and punched myself in the brain until the next words have come out. I have a book of poetry that I am currently working on. It is coming out very slowly because the poetry is a little bit harder for me to do. I haven't done as much poem writing as I probably should have. It's an art form that I have played with and done in the past, but I really need to focus down and put my brain into the mindset necessary for that. But there's so many other things. There are 5 or 6 different things I need to do for the victory system, each of which involves 5 or 6 disciplines that I either need to get back to or need to learn and master. And if I do not get a step further on that every day, I feel terrible, and I don't get a step further on that every day. Because I feel terrible, so I feel more terrible. I told myself I was going to take November and December off from doing the role-playing game material so I could focus on the novel and the poetry and the art project, a deck of cards. And that worked through November until the end of November, and then December hit, and my brain there isn't enough coffee. If ever there was enough coffee, there's enough coffee right now, and there isn't enough coffee. Part of the problem is that I have too many skills. And that doesn't sound like a problem. It really doesn't. It doesn't sound like something that you have to fight with. This is why ADHD is such a bear. When I was diagnosed with it, it was ADHD. The diagnoses have changed. Now ADHD is part of the symptom set that allows them to place you someplace on the autism spectrum. I'm not sure where I lie on that. I haven't done the testing recently. I know the ADHD is still there because listen to me. But I can write. I've been writing for a very long time. I started writing seriously when I was 12 years old, and have worked at it a little bit at a time over the years. I went in some heavy training in it, honors English and composition and creative writing classes and programs. I could teach them at this point in time. I'm an artist. I need to work a little bit on my more photorealistic works, but my line art and my cartooning is pretty good. I've been focusing on the digital art since 1998. God, that's 20 years this year, isn't it? So I've got that down, and I could go to that. I need to work on my digital modeling. I've got enough of a start to be frustrated with it, and I need to sit down and just work on it for a while. It is a skill set that would come in really useful if I could just take the stuff out of my head and put it in 3 dimensions in a digital model. I do the page layout. InDesign's a great program, but having the attention to detail that I inherited from my mom, thanks Mom, that lets me place things pixel perfect on a page of text and incorporate images and different typesets and layout, doing the videos and the video editing and what sound design I do, animation, both 2D and 3D. Stuff I need to work with. I put a couple of examples of what I took classes for. I want to study game design. There's a program at the SCROC, Southern California Occupational Research. They have a course on occupational rehabilitation council, something I need to look it up. They have a course that is game design for computer gaming that takes you through a number of different disciplines, some of which I have, some of which I really want to have. I'd like to be able to do some more programming. I could study some of that online right now and learn some Unity. I do some consulting on people doing independent game design, and that has really kind of kicked me in the head that I should put some of these systems down in code myself. Just have to learn how to do that, or get involved in a community that does that sort of thing, which taking this kind of course would do. Get me involved with other people who are doing it. Every time I stop and relax for a moment, take a sip of water or coffee, look off into space, and ask myself, okay, what's the next thing we're going to do? All of this jumps up in my brain, shouting for attention, waving its arms, and stomping its little feet. It is not a comfortable feeling that there's a million things I could be doing. I got an interesting set of practice nunchaku from Wish, and I am dying to take him to the backyard and try and build up my skill set again. The chain's a little bit long, but I can adapt for that. There's just some techniques you can't do with the chain that's too long. And I could probably get it shortened. There's 100 choices at any given point in time. It's like living inside a tornado and having to pull your lunch out of it after it has hit 5 fast food restaurants. It's all moving really, really fast, and you're never quite sure what you're going to get when you shove your hand into it, and sometimes you get nothing. Sometimes you're afraid to put your hand into it because there's so much of it there, because it's such a cacophony. Creativity is hard. Creativity and building skill sets is even harder, and every year I get a little bit older and try to expand my brain on something else I could do. I have thought about writing a treatise on the proper purchase and function of life insurance, because I studied that. It's in there. It's one of those things in my head. I'm learning the periodic table right now, so I can't say I don't have that in here anymore. Don't have the whole thing in here yet. So, a lot of this can't be dealt with right now. My brain needs to recuperate a bit, and it doesn't have the ability to build up the neurochemicals that it needs while it is in the throes of seasonal depression. That's one of the things that's happening. There are chemicals in my brain that are stopping the other chemicals from doing the jobs they need to do. The only reason I'm not coming across as depressed all the time is because that's not the kind of depression it is. That and caffeine as a stimulant gives me enough emotional energy to portray myself as maybe a little manic, he said, taking another sip of caffeine. And the one thing that I lack more than anything else is patience, which is what I really need to have right now. Patience with myself, patience with the process, patience that things are going to heal, patience that the work that I am doing to rebuild neural pathways in my brain takes time to do. And I want to be done with these things now, but that means I have to sit down and do them. So ultimately, what I want is to finish these projects. No. Let me rephrase that. What I want is to look down and see that these projects are done, which someday I'll be able to do if I put the work in the meantime. They're not going to finish themselves absent my influence. I need to put in the work. That's the rub. I want them to be done now, but I don't have the energy or the mental state or faculties to do them at the moment. Patience. This would be a really good time for me to get back to reading. I need to read the new Ravicna Guildmaster's Guide for Dungeons & Dragons. I need to run an event on that for the local gaming store. I need to go back and read some of my favorite books. I need to find some new favorite books to read. I need to relax. Find a quiet place. A coffee shop that isn't visited terribly often during the Christmas season. That's hard to do. Maybe, or I can go to the library, I suppose. Take time off and not spend my days throwing my brain at a brick wall or playing that much Minecraft. Adulting is hard. Adulting with ADHD, also hard. Trying to forge brand new concepts and ideas into forms that can be shared with the rest of the world, also very difficult. Not impossible. Done it in the past. I'll be doing it in the future. This is not in any way, shape, or form a resignation from the process. This is just, maybe I better sit down for a little while. Other than this. You know what I mean. Well, thank you for following me along through this particular bit of self-reflection. The creative process is one of my favorite subjects, even if it frustrates me horribly. And yeah, that would be some more good reading to do. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If you have your own problems with creativity or depression, or if your skill set has grown too big to give you easy decisions on where to follow your next steps, anything you'd like to hear me talk about, subjects you'd like to hear me cover, leave me a comment. You will love leaving me a comment. I will love getting a comment. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, why not? My channel is awesome. Go ahead and hit the little subscribe button. If you do hit the subscribe button, please hit the notification bell so you are alerted as soon as my videos become available. If you would like to contribute to the channel in a substantial manner, I invite you to hit me at my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps and allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I am Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me, and I will see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.